Hello, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon and good morning. Welcome to Connect Africa. Depends where you are, which time zone. So we say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today we are here in a different way. You all know Kwame Gonza from here, but we have also another brother joining us, Kabbalah, and sister Gifty. As you may have seen from our topic, it is understanding what the African Continental Unity Party is. So some of your questions that where is Kwame? Where is Kwame? Most of you, that's what you have been asking. Maybe that question might get an answer today. So in any case, I would like to say welcome to our guests here. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mahlet.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. I might be the host, but I will be definitely learning a lot, just like the rest of the audience here. So let's get into it. I mean, my first question would be, what inspired the African Continental Unity Party? I mean, I want to read for the audience here. Do you mind if I share, can I call it a manifesto or the textbook of, is that okay?
Yeah, I think that's okay. So the ideological handbook of the SUP.
Yeah, so I will just read a few lines from here. The African Continental Unity Party, or SUP, is a unique African political party that many Africans identify themselves with, and in which Africans worldwide find the hope to meet our common, meaning, okay, as an African, common aspirations of freedom, prosperity, and dignity. Now, the party, you say that here it is unique. The continent might be short of such political parties, but definitely not leaders. I think we have had such Pan-African leaders, but in general, what inspired you to come up with this political party, or should I call it movement? Anyway, I will leave it with you. I think anyone can start.
King Kabbalah, you want to go first, or I should go first?
You can go, sir. I will come after you. No problem. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Mahlet. And thank you, first of all, to our audience. It's a great honor to be on Connect Africa today. It's a fast-growing Pan-African platform, and it's very fortunate that this is one of those platforms which present, like a real African continent. So we are very proud of you, Mahlet, and the work you are doing for us across the continent, and of course in the diaspora. Now, briefly to answer where I've been on the ground organizing with the African Continental Unity Party. But our viewers on Connect Africa don't have to be worried about anything. I'm back. I'm very much back. We are carrying out a lot of work of organizing the African people, and on behalf, of course, of the African, Continental Unity Party. Now, to answer the question, what inspired the formation of the African Continental Unity Party, which is the SCUP? As you have said, it is a unique organization, is the fact that, number one, there is unfinished business on this continent. In 1963, there was the struggle for the formation of a continental government for Africa. All right. So we failed at that point in 1963 to form a continental government. You can look at it either way, how you like it, or but at the end of the day, it is the Africans who failed. We were divided, of course, Casablanca and Monrovia group and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, whether there was external interference from CIA and these imperialists, at the end of the day, we failed. All of us as Africans, we failed. So that in itself became unfinished business to date, that the formation of the the African Continental Unity Party is based on this understanding that the continent has to get a new way because by 1963 and 1966, with the overthrow of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and later on, before that, the things which happened there with the killing of, Prime Minister Lumumba in the Democratic Republic of Congo, all these things culminated into the consolidation of power by imperialistic forces on the continent. And that is what we are experiencing today. So there's a gap ever since 1966. Now, there's a gap right now that is happening on the continent. The continent is not where it is supposed to be. So this is why the African Continental Unity Party was formed. It was formed out of conviction by a group of people who are all of us basically are young people, the youth, who understand that the world is moving at a rapid rate. Now, this speed at which the world is moving requires us to move at that pace. We must fall within that tempo as a new generation of Africans. You can talk of technological advancements, you can talk of economic growth, okay? You can talk of security. The continent is fast becoming one of the most insecure places, with the Sahel, with the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, and all these. So if you look around the world, is almost now becoming the most unstable place, okay, next to the Middle East, where the disturbances has been all this period. So when you talk of security, economics, technology, all these, we are behind, and yet we don't lack intellectual abilities, we don't lack resources, okay? So what does then this mean? It means that there must be someone to stand in the gap. There must be someone to sacrifice. There must be a group of people to sacrifice, to mobilize, okay, to mobilize all these resources which we have, whether material resources which we have in the ground. But we believe that the most important resource in all this aspect is the people, itself, is the African people. So there is lack of a group of people. There has been a lack of group of people who will be able to sacrifice, to mobilize the African people and bring them together for them to build their continent. Because the African people, they have the same intelligence like the rest of the other people across the world, whether it's Chinese, whether it's the Americans. So this is what formed or informed the formation of the African Continental Unity Party. The fact that we have to build a new Africa, and we cannot build it with the same mindset which the current generation of leaders who are leading it, or you can call them heads of state, or you can call them misleaders if you like. But that mindset, it cannot take Africa in the next 50 years, okay? So there has to be a change. So this is what, basically informed the African Continental Unity Party. There's gaps in the continent, and things are not going the way they are supposed to, to go. So this is what is driving us enthusiastically, that we have to change the continent. And this generation, we have heard people like President Xi Jinping of China, saying that the changes that are happening today, they have never happened in the last 100 years. So this, for us, also informed us the understanding that the changes that are appearing today, they have only happened in years like 1945 and 1791, all these years, that if we do not take advantage of this particular moment, then we are going to be in huge trouble as Africans, because we may be colonized in a more dangerous way, and we may suffer even much more dangerous colonization like what happened in 1885 and even slavery. So this is what is driving us, and we are moving very fast, that we have to mobilize the African people to build a better continent for ourselves, all of us. Thank you so much, Mahlet.
Thank you, Kwame, for that. Now, next, I want to go to Brother Kabbalah. Brother Kabbalah, what makes, maybe Kwame might have touched a bit, but I want you to go in detail in it. What makes the African Continental Unity Party unique from the rest of political parties that we know in the continent so far? I mean, there is a prominent one, for example, the African National Congress or others. I don't know that we can call really as continental one. Even the ANC, I think it's still limited in South Africa. But what makes SUP different from the others?
All right. Thank you so much, Queen. Greetings to you, and greetings to all the listeners all over the world, and greetings to my colleagues here. I see King Kwame Gonza and Queen Gifty. My revolutionary greetings to all of you. So now I think the short answer to your question is that what makes ACUP unique, it is the fact that it is an initiative of the masses, of the people. And the long answer to that question is simply that, as King Kwame gave us a historical perspective, since the 1960s, we have been using an elite approach to solve our problems as African people. What do I say by that? I simply mean that there are two perspectives that we can use to look at any social issue. And there's what we call a elite perspective, and there's also what we can call the masses perspective. So the elites have a way to look at the social issues, and the way that they used to look at the social issues inspires the solution they propose to the social issues. The masses as well, which are the common people, you and me, we also have our way of looking at the social issues, and that can also inspire a solution that probably can be different from the solution of the elites. Now, when you look in Africa since the 1960s, we have been using mostly the solution of the elites, or the perspective of the elites, to solve the African problem. In other words, we have been electing leaders. Yeah, I mean, after every 5 year, after every 5 years, after every electoral cycle, so to say, in a hope that things will change in Africa. But we kind of browsing around the same situation. Things don't change really in Africa when you look at it closely. You see that our situation is even going from uh, from good to worse in most of these countries, coupled with the environmental conditions that are changing. All these things, we know the situation that we are going through in Africa. So it is time now maybe that we have to look at the solution of the masses, or to look at our problem from the perspective of the masses. And this is what ACP is about, by eventually using the blueprint that was designed by Kwame Nkrumah, which is Africa must unite. But this time around, we don't leave this blueprint or this solution in the hands of the elites, because in most cases, elites in Africa are at the work or at the service of Western imperialism, not at the service of the common people or the masses. So, as I said, the short answer to your question is that ACUP is initiative of the masses, no longer an initiative of the elites. So it is time that we, as a young African people, the youth, we have come together. We have said, you know what, it is enough with looking at the leaders that have been assigned by Western powers to come and then manage Africa, and making the resources of Africa profitable to the Western societies and unprofitable to us as African people. So we came up with the idea that let us then come by using the blueprint of Kwame Nkrumah and initiate our own movement as African people, mostly young people, because it is being commonly said that the youth is the future, but we believe that the youth is actually the present. We are no longer the future. We are the present. We need to capture the time of today and then make the changes or implement the changes that will affect our life positively. So that is basically what makes us unique. And the second thing, most important, that makes us unique is the fact that we are not relying on charismatic leaders to lead us towards the freedom that we want. We are relying on the vision that we have of rebuilding Africa as a global power base. So our aim, our effort every day is to make this vision clearly understandable to all African masses, so that everyone, when they wake up in the morning, they don't have to wait for somebody to tell them that you need to do A, B, C, D for your future or for the Africa that we want. But everyone consciously, they understand that we need power more than anything for us to live in Africa that belongs to us. Therefore, people will be engaged to do things that are supposed to do in order to achieve that vision of power that we have spoken about. And the last thing that makes ACUP unique is the fact that it is a continental based movement. It's a movement that is structured on the principle of community, or I should say African community. And when we talk about community, as the greatest revolutionary Kwame Ture said it, the concept of community for us as African people is not geographical, but it is related to the color of our skin. Everywhere Black people find themselves, on the continent, in the diaspora, even those in the future, they are potentially members of the African Continental Unity Party, and they are supposed to be part of this movement or this vision, because Pan-Africanism is first and foremost about uniting all African people globally for the total liberation of Africa through scientific means. So the last thing, as I said, that makes us unique is the fact that we are not defining ourselves in the context of colonial boundaries that have been put on Africa. We are defining ourselves according to the way that our ancestors lived. We are African. That's how we define ourselves first and foremost. Because one thing that Kwame Ture said about power, very important, is that every people who are free and powerful are the people who are able to define their own terms and make those terms accepted by other people. So Europeans came to Africa and defined us as Congolese, as Nigerian, as Malawian, as Ugandans, as Ghanaians. And we have been working in those guidelines for more than 60 years now, as I said from the beginning, and we don't see any change. So now it is time that we have to redefine ourselves. That is why the party, or the movement, precisely is a movement currently, is not really constrained within the framework of neocolonialism or of Ghana, Burundi, Nigeria. It is a Pan-African movement, which we intend, of course, to transform it into political party. And the reason why I want to make it a political party in all African countries, because we can advocate for change and leave that change to be implemented by other people, and then go back to the square one, where we were faced with a situation that put us in a condition of looking for change. Now, it is better, this is what we believe, to not just advocate for change, but to be also in the driving seat of implementing that change, which means we need to capture the political power that enables us to not just march on street to talk about change as all the movements do, but actually to be in the position where we begin to implement the changes that we want. And that is the need for political organization or political party status that we are seeking in every country in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Kabbalah, for really clarifying that what makes African continental. Should I, now that you explain it after both of you have spoken, should I say it at this stage a movement or a political party? Which one is better describes?
Well, a political party becomes a political party when it's got all the status in a specific country as a political party and fighting to win elections. But at the current status of ACP is a movement, because we are in different countries but not yet legalized in these countries as a political party. So we are a movement, Pan-African movement, I should say continental movement. For example, now in Ghana, we are a political party because in Ghana we have been already legalized. We have got paperwork to work as a political party. And we want to do the same thing in South Africa, want to do the same thing in Kenya, in Uganda, Congo, and other countries. So we will begin to progressively gain that status of political party. But for now, we are operating as a political continental movement.
Okay, good. I think that's also better. That's what I kind of understood. Now, let me go to my sister, Sister Gifty. I'm really excited to get this answer from you. I mean, we don't see so many women in this kind of movements. I mean, there are, but really, most of it is dominated by males, right? What inspired you? What captivated you in this movement for you to join it?
Okay, good evening to everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this platform. I want to say hi to your viewers and my comrades as well. Thank you again. What actually inspired me, I'll say that, you know, we are two genders like male and female. So when it comes to freedom fighting, we normally see the men leading us and all that. But I think that we should also be part, because when we unite, we can achieve whatever we want to achieve. So if we sit down and then we just fold our hands and watch them do it, yes, maybe they can do it and do it better. But if we also go and push them, give them our support, I know that that will actually boost the thing we are doing. It will give us speed, time, and it will actually bring a nice result, because we are all coming together to do it. And then women actually can do a lot of stuff, because we give birth to the males as well, and then we bring them up, we take care of the home and all that. So we are capable of bringing more change in our society, in our homes, in our community, in our countries. So I think that I believe that when I'm part of ACUP or any Pan-African movement, and a lot of women too are part, we can actually bring change, and that will really help. So if we sit and then we watch the men go, that is not fair. So we have to come together for us to achieve great things. And women, we are capable of doing everything. Despite what, we are capable of doing everything. So I really think that I have to be part, so that we can all achieve one thing in the future. Thank you.
I think well said, Sister Gifty. Thank you for that. I do believe, I am a believer of that. I think our world was a matriarchal world. Somewhere something happened in our history and it's changed to patriarchal. It's not that to create that animosity between male and female, but I do believe, just like you said, women are capable of doing a lot of things. Even as a freedom fighter, we have so many of them in Ghana, in Uganda, in Ethiopia. They have been doing amazing things as a fighter as well. So no, it's great to see you here. And yeah, hopefully it will inspire other women as well. Now, let me go back to Kwame. My question is, what are so far the problems that you have identified? You have touched upon some things, but you have identified that you want to tackle when this movement, of course, changes to a political party, and when you get that status and get elected. So what are those, and how are you going to confront, it's not just political parties in African countries. We have these neo-colonizers as well. So it's also the imperialists. It's also the neo-colonizers. And how are you going to confront with these forces, even when that is done? I would like to add this question from our viewers. Let me just get it. I saw it somewhere here. Kwado Yeboah. Then how are you going to, how are you intending to obtain the energy of the masses to build the continent, if there, even after the work of defeating that force is done?
Thank you, Mahlet. It's a big question which you asked. I'm saying that it's a multiple question. But first of all, as King Kabbalah said, this is a very unique party. Is a unique movement in itself, a political movement. Let us be very clear, on this. We are not in here to just play, games. So we believe that the first or the best way to provide a solution to a problem is for you to diagnose rightly. It's just like how you go to a hospital. If the doctor gets the diagnosis very well, correctly, then the chances are very high that the patient will get the right medicine and will get well. All right. So what we see is that in these 1960s, there was people who diagnosed the problem accurately of what it was on the continent, but those people did not get the support which was necessary. And of course, it is possible that others did not understand the diagnosis. And that is why, of course, we are where we are today. It's the same situation that I've given an example on, that if you do not diagnose the sickness accurately, then that sickness is going to continue and even bring other sicknesses into your body and probably even kill you. So that is where Africa has reached, from the point of where we got independence from when freedom fighters came to the point of where we are right now. Along the line, there was correct diagnosis, but people like Nkrumah who diagnosed this problem, and even people like Sobukwe, if you go to South Africa, Robert Sobukwe of South Africa diagnosed the continent's problem very well, but Sobukwe did not get a chance to get to power in South Africa, and the apartheid regime killed him. So we say that we will go back, because the problems that this continent is facing, they are really not new. They're not new. What we need at this particular point is maybe a little bit of determination, okay, as the new generation, because these problems have been diagnosed long time ago. Nkrumah, Walter Rodney, all these guys, they wrote material and they left it behind, and they diagnosed the problem accurately for us, and they said how we should deal with it. They gave us prescription, which is the medicine on how we should deal with this particular problem. So at the top of these challenges, of course, as you mentioned, from our analysis and from historical analysis, is the problem of imperialism. You can say whatever you want. Many people have been saying it's corruption, it's women rights, it's the attitude of Africans, all these things. Many people have different diagnoses. But historically, these problems have been analyzed by people who were in power, people who stayed in power, and they saw the problems that the continent is facing. Intellectuals, correct intellectuals like Walter Rodney, and they sat down, they spent time on these problems of the continent, not just jumping, from bed and say, oh, it's because the Africans have a bad attitude, that's why the continent is not. This is not the right diagnosis, from historical analysis by these ancestors. So what we have identified is that the leaders or the heads of state on the continent, they are being enabled by a system that has been created. And this system was created in 1945. For those of you who are watching TV, you have heard this system being defended on TV when they talk about the global order, the 1945 order. We have had people like the CEO of JP Morgan, a powerful bank in the United States, and which has, of course, tentacles all over the world. He's talking about the United States order, the Western order, which was created in 1945. They are trying to challenge it. People are trying to challenge it. So when they say this is actually, they are talking about this system which was created in 1945. This is the system that has held Africans back for all these years since independence. And this is the system which Nkrumah warned people about. That this is the system that they are creating is going to enslave us if we don't unify the continent. All right. So at the top, that is the system that we are dealing with. Now, on the next level, we have our heads of state themselves and some people on the continent who are enabling this system to continue to exploit the continent. And to give you some background or a look into some data which has come out even recently, if you look at the report which was published by the African Development Bank on the economic outlook, African Economic Outlook 2024, it actually paints a clear picture of what this continent's problem is. The African continent, the African Development Bank published a report and said that there is a leakage from the African continent of around $600 billion every single year. This is African Development Bank that is talking about this. $600 billion. Now, at the top of that leakage, which the African Development Bank is saying, is what they called international profit shifting. What this basically means is that the international companies which are operating on the African continent, whether you're talking about oil companies, whether you're talking about mining companies, they are the lead at the top in extracting resources from the African continent. Now, these guys, they extract almost to the tune of $300 billion. And I want people to look out for that presentation from the African Development Bank on YouTube. It is even available on YouTube, but you can go and read the report itself. So the tune is up to $300 billion. It is precisely around $287 billion every single year. Every single year, that is how much is being extracted from the continent by these corporations. Now, corruption, which many people talk about across the globe, and they make a lot of noise, Africa, because Africans are corrupt. Corruption comes in just at the second level with $145 billion, which it is just even about 50% of what the international companies and the Western countries are extracting from the African continent. So what does this mean? What is the interpretation of this report then? The interpretation is clear here. The major problem that is affecting the African continent is the extraction of wealth by international cartels. And this is the same problem which Nkrumah diagnosed way back in 1963, even in his book, Neocolonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism, 1965. This is when he published this material. So it is very clear and evident what the problem is. Now, for us, we have identified this problem clearly, that imperialism at the top, then its enablers, which is the corruption at the second level, which is even evident from data, which is, of course, the African heads of state are part of that. Many of them are part of that. Not all of them, but many and majority of them are part of that problem. So what this means now, that we have to be ready to confront these challenges. We have to go back now to the African people and ask them to join this fight, because even the African heads of state, some of them actually are complacent, or they have allowed themselves to be used because they feel that they are helpless. They cannot fight against this particular system. I would like to remind people about one thing which Nkrumah said when many African countries were trying to get independence. He said that the capitalist system, and he was talking about this so-called international system that we have today. He said that the capitalist system is so sophisticated, is so complicated for newly independent African states to deal with it. The small states which are being formed in Africa, they could not deal with how complicated this system is. And of course, we are talking about the United States military, which spends about $1 trillion every single year on military, the intelligence agencies, the sophisticated media platforms from the West who have taken over almost the continent and taken over the narrative. We have seen African Stream recently was blocked, from streaming on YouTube. They don't want any African narrative out there. So this is a very sophisticated system, completely sophisticated, that you needed the power of a united Africa to deal with this kind of threat. And that threat, unfortunately, was never confronted, was never neutralized. So that threat is still existent today. So then we said that, what do we do for us to confront this kind of challenge that we are facing today? We have to go back to the African people and explain to them how complicated this is. Because we don't pretend to be out there and say, okay, this is a very simple issue. We do understand that this is a big challenge, and we appreciate that this is a huge challenge. And that is why we are calling all people, all capabilities, whether they are engineers, whether they are, they are economists, they should come on board so that we can work together. Because if we don't do it in this generation, then which generation are we expecting that is going to do it? We cannot hand over, the continent which they are giving us, which is in a bad shape. The current, heads of state are giving us a continent which is in a very bad shape, So we cannot accept to sit down. We cannot sit down and hand over the same continent to the next generation, our children and grandchildren. So this is what is driving us. The conviction, the fact that the task before us is more important than the challenges which we are facing. We know that there is challenges. The enemies we are facing have a lot of resources, whether it is media, whether it's money, whether it's the military capabilities. But for us, we think that our determination can defeat all this, and the task ahead is more important. What to fight for, what we are fighting for, is more important than the challenges that we are facing that are before us. So this led us to mobilize ourselves. You are seeing, King Gift is here, King Kabbalah is here, and we have others in the background who are in the field and battling, because we cannot put it off. The challenge is enormous, but we cannot put it off. We have to get, dirty. We have to get in the field and start the work, because there's no other time for us to do it. So we are calling on all, Africans from all walks of life, to come and hold hands with the SUP, so that we can move forward and see how to, to liberate the continent, because we must. We cannot wait, for any other time to do it. Thank you very much, Mahlet.
Thank you, Kwame, for that. Now, Brother Kabbalah, I want to ask one thing that if a person read this ideology of the African Continental Unity Party, the phrase that gets, repeated is creating that global power base, which is out of necessity. Now, how are you strategizing, first of all, to get power and then create that power base?
Thank you very much. I think that's
okay. Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, and it's an important question that you have asked there. So basically, the power is with the people, and they just need to be organized so that the power which they have should be manifested. And actually, the question of power is the vision, the central vision of the African Continental Unity Party, because the world in which we're living today, you will see that is divided among powerful countries and powerless countries. They are using different terms to describe these powerful and powerless countries. Sometimes they use terms such as developed countries or industrialized countries and underdeveloped countries. So basically, this term simply means that these countries are powerful countries and other countries are powerless countries. And when you look at the reality of the human family today, you see that the people who belong to the family that is looked as a powerless family in the world are the victims of misuse, of abuse, of any kind of bad treatments from those who have the power. And those who have the power are the ones who define terms. As I said from the beginning, power is nothing but defining, the ability to define your own terms and make those terms accepted by other people, whether they like it or not. And that is the fundamental definition of powerful people. And the reality we are going through today as African people, just as King Kwame Gonza was describing, whereby you have an economy that is evaporating out of the continent through the international or multinational corporations. It's simply because we don't have the power to create institutions that will maintain this economy on the continent. And in the first place, the reason why we have those multinational corporations in Africa is simply because we don't have the power to develop our own industries. Therefore, we rely on them to do things for us that we are supposed to do for ourselves. So power is at the center of world paradigm today. And I used to say that the world is not governed by democracy, even though we have a lot of political parties in Africa saying that we want to bring democracy. No, that is not what is at the core of the world paradigm today. The world is not even governed by human rights or by all these things that people in the West are pushing in Africa today. The world is governed by power. You either are powerful and you control your own destiny, or you are powerless and you become a victim of those who have the power. And when we talk about power, there's only one way to look at it, is the ability to defend yourself and to inflict some kind of violence on your enemy. Because that is what America is today. When you say that America is a powerful country, it's not because they have the knowledge, they have a spirituality, or they have a science above what Africa has. No, the knowledge in the world belongs to everybody. These countries are powerful simply because they have the means of violence. They can inflict destruction on other countries that do not have the same means of violence. Now, we are heading towards a period in life where resources are becoming scarce, where the environment is becoming unfriendly to human conditions. So the small resources that we have, or that will be remaining in the world, will definitely be belonging to those who have the power. That means if Africa choose to remain powerless in this 21st century, they definitely not going to be a future for African people. It's a total obliteration of Africa as we know it. So it is an agent for us as African people today to begin thinking about building our own power base, to acquire all the means that will eventually enable us to build our own power base, so that when we have the power, we can defend ourselves, we can protect ourselves, we can define our economic paradigm, our political paradigm, so forth and so on. Because when we don't have the power, we have to work with the definitions or concepts developed by other people, which do not work for us, which do not benefit us. Unfortunately, we have been living through that in our entire lives as African people. From education to politics to economy, we are using concepts designed by Westerners, and those concepts do not work for us as African people. So the question of power is very central to our survival beyond the 21st century as African people. The question of power is very crucial for our existence as African people, so that our children do not descend in another slavery, this time that is going to be controlled by artificial intelligence or robots, no longer by human beings as the past slavery of our ancestors, or the current slavery that we are still, navigating through, even though we don't recognize it. So I think power is what we are pursuing, and that's what we are going to build. Now, the question of how are we going to build this power, as I said from the beginning, the power is with the people. Power is with me, is with you, is with every African person. We just have to learn how to organize ourselves. And that is why we talk about unity. When we say that we want to unite Africa, we don't envision Africa whereby we are just coming together and say that, oh, now you are united. You are no longer Ghanaian, I'm no longer Congolese, now we are one person. No, that is not going to solve our problems. That is not going to create jobs in Africa. That is not going to create healthcare condition in Africa. That is not going to create, the military capability to defend ourselves. So the unity that we're talking about, we are looking at it through organization. Now, let me give you one simple example. In 2016, Africa generally, we spent 42 to 46 billion US dollars for our military expenses. At the same time, Russia was spending 60 billion US dollars for its military expenses. And when you look at 46 and 60 billion, the difference of 14 US dollars is not really 14 billion US dollars, not that huge. Because today, when we look at the world, Russians military budget is just slightly above 100 billion US dollars, while America is about 900 billion. So it's a huge gap, but Russia is a powerful country. So the difference that we had between Russia and us was not that significant. But when you look militarily, Africa cannot even stand before France, cannot even stand before Italy, cannot even stand before Russia. Why? Because this money is used only to equip president so that they can drive in armored vehicle and have mercenary protecting them, and that the excess money is used to arm the police that will have to control the population, not even to build the capability means to defend Africa. In a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that budget is actually used individually, because every country now in Africa want to equip itself with the strongest weapons because it wants to imitate France. You know, Uganda want to have the latest weapons from France, and in most cases they get the weapons that were used in the Second World War. They don't even get the latest one. Congo wants to do the same. So individual, we're spending this little money. That is reason why Africa is not strong. But if we organize our military budget to put it together, we have a budget of 46 billion US dollars. We can build a continental army that will enable us to say at the United Nations, to say that no, we don't accept this, and to say no, we want this, and people will listen to us. We'll be able to tell the world, as Vladimir Putin told them when they manufactured that bomb that was called Devil 2. He said, you did not listen to us. Now you must listen. You know what that means? Now we have the power. Look, this is what we want in Africa, and we can do it because we have the money. But the problem is that the money that we have is not organized, and that is the reason why we seem to be poor. African economy, as we're speaking now, is standing at 3 trillion US dollars. And China is at 21 trillion US dollars, but Africa is 30 trillion, if I'm not mistaken, 30 trillion US dollars, collectively, if I'm not mistaken. And according to the latest statistic that I saw, and China is 21 trillion, right? So it means we just have to bring these economies together, and we'll be able to build a power base that we want. And that is the reason why we're talking about unity. We're talking about actually organizing our resources, organizing ourselves. So now, as I said, the strategy is with our people, because as we said, this movement is a masses movement. We call it an initiative by African masses, not by elites. So we focus more in organizing our people, organizing our masses, so that we can begin already to change our communities, because we don't wait the day that we will be. We don't wait for the day that we will be in political power to begin changing things. No, we can push for change right now as a political movement, right? In our communities, we have unemployment. We have we have poverty in our communities. In most communities in Africa, you have people coming from Bangladesh, coming from Pakistan, and coming and selling bread, selling sugar in our communities. So it means our communities are not even in control, are not even under our own control. So we can begin with all these things by replacing this foreign-owned shop by our own shops to sell to ourselves what we need, so that we can do what Thomas Sankara said, that we need to consume what we produce and produce what we consume. So, and that as well requires that we need to be organized from the community level. So this implies that the masses are the engine of this power base that we are talking about, because when we talk about it, we look at the organization of us as African people from the grassroots level, because this is a grassroots movement. So that is the strategy that we have to acquire the power that we want, is to organize our communities, organize African people, so that we can speak with one voice, we can have one vision, and we can have one objective, which is to break down the forces of imperialism and rebuild Africa as a global power base. And we can do it in the next 5 years, we can do it in the next 10 years, we can do it in the next 100 years. And there's also a possibility that we may not even be able to do it, because it depends on only one thing. And that is when all of us as African people, the masses, will realize our conditions and begin to do for ourselves what other people have been pretending to do for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kabbalah. As much as I would like to move to Sister Gifty, but I want to remain, sorry, for 2 minutes with you. First, you have me convinced, and then you kind of confused me. So I will go back to your original kind of definition about power. So my question was, how are you trying to get this power and then create that power base? So when you were defining, then power, you tend mostly not this political power or not this even ideology of democracy or whatever, but mostly with security and militarily, right? That's
Yes, so
the power, the ability of to inflict violence.
Okay, so
Yeah.
look at it in this way.
Yeah, but so my
Mhm.
question is now, how are we going to unite? I mean, every country, every member state is spending on its security separately and not even for a national purpose, just to guard the head of state. But without having that political unity, how do you think we will bring those member
Yes.
states to
Can I
agree
answer that?
on this military? Isn't that where Dr. Kwame Nkrumah also left the rest of the group? No, I mean, maybe something is not clear. Let's give him a chance and maybe we come back to you, Kwame.
Okay, let
I
me
want
say
to
where
stay
the,
with
let me say
brother
where the
Kwame.
king, good. Let me say where the king goes. We jump in there. So this is how I look at it. Political power is a must, and that we are out after political power, because even Kwame Nkrumah said it, that seek ye first the political kingdom, and anything else will follow. Now, but look at this in this way: if you have a money, you don't have a house, you don't have a garage, a secure house and a garage, and you go in the market to the dealership and buy an expensive car, a Lamborghini. You come with it and you park it on the streets because you don't have a house, you don't have a garage. The next morning, the thief will come and steal your car. Now, in Africa, we want to have economic power. It's good. We have already the African Continental Free Trade. It's good. But the question that we need to ask ourselves is, this economy that we want, for example, how are we going to protect it? Because the dynamic of West and South, I mean, of Western powers against Africa has been to keep Africa underdeveloped, to keep Africa poor, and have the economy of Africa developing or benefiting the West. So when we talk about developing economic power, for example, it means we need to destabilize the status quo that the Westerners have established, and they don't gonna let us do that easily, because already we saw it in 2011. Muammar Gaddafi had a lot of money. He funded by himself, I think, at 80% the projects of African telecommunication satellites. He had a lot of money, but he didn't have the means to defend and to protect his economy. And you know what happened? Obama came and stole the money that belonged to Libya, and Libya today is in chaos. So anything else that we want is good. Political unity is very good, but unity, if you bring cows together in unity, is good. But if you take two lions, you put them against a group of cows, they will be destroyed and they will be devastated because they don't have the power to defend themselves. So when I talk about military or security, I look at it as the most significant dimension of power in the world today. So you have spiritual power, you have scientific power, you have economic power, you have political power, very important. But ultimately, you're going to have military power, because the people that we are dealing with are tyrants. They don't understand anything else except power, which is for them is violence. When they went to China, Chinese men showed them the gunpowder and told them that we are using this for celebration, and they took it, they made it a gun, and they killed Chinese men and they colonized him. They went to America, they found Indian people, and the Indian people told them that this is how we grow our crops, this is how we cultivate. They learned all the skills, they used it as a weapon, they destroyed and then committed genocide against Indian people. They came to Africa, and our kings and our rulers showed them that this is our gold, this is our wealth, this is how we do things, this is our treasures. And they took all those things, they learned the knowledge, and they enslaved us. So these are the people that you cannot think that they would change the game or the perception because you have political power. Because as we're speaking right now, we need to agree Africa is politically free. We are politically free because we are able to design our policies. We saw all these things in our parliaments, but are we able to implement those things? No. Why? Because we don't have the power, as I said, to say, as Putin said it, now you need to listen to us. We don't have that power. And for you to have that power, you need to have a level of violence, because violence is the only language that these people understand. So I did not leave out the political dimension of unity that we are talking about, is even central to the ACUP. And One of the things that we are going to do when we are in power politically, we need to bring a system that allows every African people at the grassroots to be involved in the policy designing and policy implementation in our countries. So it means we take the so-called democracy, I use it for the lack of better word, we took it a step further. Instead of us sitting down, going after every 5 years, electing individuals to come and rule our lives, no, we don't do that. We are consistently, every time when there's a new policy, people who are going to be affected by that policy need to be involved to say yes or no. Every time the government wants to give a concession or a land that belongs to our community to a Chinese company or American company, people in that community need to say yes or no. So that is what we call an inclusive democracy. That's what we are going to do, because we said this is a masses movement. We have to involve people in all decisions that affect their life. Let me not go on. Let me leave King Goes. I think he wants to complete me there. Thank you very much. I can go on and on. You know what I mean? I get so passionate about this.
No, I mean, it's really good to hear. It's important for us that it is clear, and it's a tricky situation. Okay, Kwame, go on, and I want to go to my sister.
Yeah, thank you, Mahlet, once again. So the question of how do we do it? How do we bring the whole continent together, whether it is politically, even militarily? So what we understand is that there's a couple of pillars which are necessary. To in our strategy, there's a couple of pillars which are necessary. Now we are implementing a comprehensive strategy, but that comprehensive strategy is not predetermined with small prescriptions. Okay, we are implementing a strategy which is dynamic, because if you lock yourself into certain strategies, you are likely to be defeated, because if your strategy doesn't meets a greater challenge, or it is defeated, then you will not be able to make adjustments. So what we are doing is that we have a pillar, like the pillar of unification or cooperation with others. That is a very critical pillar. And I'll give you an example. If we come to Ghana, for example, where we have our center of gravity currently, you may find that the current conditions there are different from what is in South Africa. And an example is, if you look at countries which got their independence earlier than South Africa, there has been this mentality, and of course you can talk of Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, and all these countries. There has been this deception that these countries are free. Okay, so this so-called freedom, like what you see in Kenya, has led to the alienation, for example, of Pan-African forces. Okay, they are alienated from power. They are not even in parliament, many of these countries. Now, when you go to South Africa, you see that you have progressive forces over there, which you can say, okay, these are Pan-African forces. And you can talk of the Economic Fighters League, of Julius Malema. You can talk of the Pan-African Congress, which has been in parliament in South Africa. So in South Africa, you have the Pan-African forces at a certain level where they have achieved something. They are already contending. And in South Africa, it's like the enemy has already been defined. While in places like Kenya, there's a deception that the people who are ruling the country, they represent you. Okay, in South Africa, you hear it every day. They are saying white capital, ANC is serving white capital, white monopoly capital. In our countries, all the others, you never hear something like that, that these guys are serving white monopoly capital. Why? Because you have these black faces who are pretending that they are representing your interest, yet they are not. They are also serving the same white monopoly capital, like what is happening in South Africa. Now, how do you confront such a situation, which is very complicated? So that is why we said at the beginning that we understand the challenge. There's huge challenge, tremendous challenge. But number one, for us, we understand that the pillar of determination is very critical. Now, the second pillar, which is unification with the progressive forces which are combating, which are looking at this situation, as we bring on others, as we encourage others to join, because we have identified the problem. We have really identified the problem. Now, the process which we have laid out is start with working with individuals in these particular states. Like, for example, we have our friends in Ethiopia. All right. We are opening up space in Ethiopia. We're opening up space in Sierra Leone. The temporary conditions, those conditions are not permanent. They may be different, but we can work with the people who exist in these territories to inform us on what is the condition there. Now, some of the governments, you may need to come and advocate, or what they call advocacy. We want to negotiate. You talk to them and show them the situation, and they'll be able to understand it. Some of the governments on the continent, you're going to have to like an all-out confrontation with them, because they are completely neocolonial in their nature, completely neocolonial, and yet you have progressive governments. Now, if we go to a place like, for example, Niger and Mali, the strategy there will be different, that we will seek cooperation with them because they are already ahead of us. They have already taken power, and the Pan-African forces are already in government. So that kind of space, we have a strategy for it. Now, when we come to a neocolonial space like Nigeria, that one we have to work with the progressive forces there to remove this. But and of course, when we go to South Africa, it's the same. But when we go to Kenya, we have to work with the progressive forces there to confront the neocolonial system and be able to defeat. And of course, it requires a lot of work. We're going to put in a lot of work. So, but what we understand again is that at the end of the day, what defeated us in 1963, that when Nkrumah wanted to bring them together, we failed to push all these forces together. And when people got independence, actually, they thought that when you get independence, people thought that when you get independence and you get a flag and you get a seat at the United Nations, then you are free. They thought that you are free, then you can go about and develop your country without any problem or anyone controlling you. And this is what Nkrumah was warning them about, that it is not true. It's not true that when you get independence, you're going to be free. It's not true. Most of them thought that they were going to be free. So this understanding, we are also impressing it to the revolutionaries at the African Continental Unity Party, those ones who are currently struggling, in the various states, all our partners, and those ones we are going to strike relationship with. We are impressing it on them that you understand that the liberation of one territory does not mean that that territory is free until the whole African continent has come together. So once this is understood, that everywhere where we are working, where we need cooperation, where we need to confront the forces, head on, in these areas, and where we need to advocate in certain areas where we have progressive forces in power. Like if you go, for example, to Ethiopia, the current government, you may say that, okay, this government at least is friendly to Pan-Africanism in a way. So that approach cannot be the same with a government like in Tinubu, which is completely colonial, and Kenya's government right now, which is a completely colonial government. So the progressive forces which we work with there, once we win power in the different ways, we are already planting that seed, that you have to understand that the main objective we are fighting for is the unification of the continent, so that we can develop it rapidly with a unified military. And then we want to build a unified, a telecommunication platform. We want to build, first of all, we have laid out the plan of the first things that we want to do once this objective is achieved, and we have gotten, consensus with the members. So I hope that I've been able to answer your question, the stage by stage in which we want to go about this process. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you kind of complimented Brother Kabbalah, so you both address different things, but at the end, yeah, it answers the question. And now going to my sister Gifty, one of the things that Brother Kabbalah mentioned, what makes this movement unique is, from what we know, other political parties or movements, not movement, okay, if it's a political party, is that it crosses the borders that has been set by the colonial power. So how are you trying to reach out to other people? I understand now I see Brother Kabbalah is from DRC. Kwame, I know you have you touch both East and West Africa, and Sister Gift, you are from Ghana. So, how are you trying to reach out to others, and what has been that journey like so far?
Okay, thank you very much once again. SCUP is actually working on grounds massively. We are doing our possible best to actually get to all the African countries, which we are gradually making progress and all that. We have a website that everybody can register there. So we have social media platforms. Your platform is also another chance for us, for other people to hear of ACUP, and we've been going to other platforms as well. That is African platforms as well, TV stations, radio stations, for people to also know about ACUP. So we know that now we have smartphones and TVs and all that. So news nowadays travel to people in a very short period of time. No, in no time, news get to people. So we have the confidence that what we are doing will actually reach out to everybody and all the African countries. So we have our website, that is www.africanacup.org. That everybody can actually visit the website and register. You register and then you become part of the Pan-African movement, and we all fight this together. And then we are also actually, I know this won't be the first and the last time to be on your platform. We'll come here so that a lot of people can also see this, as it's on YouTube. People from Nigeria, South Africa, everybody from the parts of the African countries can get in touch with this video or this message, and they know that they have to reach out to us so that we can do this together, because it is not for only the four of us here or for the few people who have actually brought this up. It's actually for all of us. As far as we are Blacks, even those in the diaspora, they are also contributing massively. They are actually bringing their ideas. I actually love the fact that SCUP gives everybody the chance to bring his or her idea, and then give the chance to let everybody do what he or she can do, and then everybody is a royalty. That is for a fact. That is why we identify ourselves as kings and queens. So no one is left out, and we don't want anybody to be left out. We want all of us to join hands to actually create the African continent we want, because we can actually do this. So we have to believe in ourselves, and then just to know that where Nkrumah and the others left it, we can actually continue from that place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Gifty. If I may add a question, because I mean the audience might want to know, and that kind of inspires as well people. In how many countries so far, in African countries, that you have SUP, not necessarily an office or being registered, but having members, it could be?
Okay, so I do know that some parts of Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, South Africa or Senegal. I don't know, maybe King Goza can help me with that part, but I know that Ghana, Ethiopia, some parts of Nigeria, DRC Congo. So like we are progressing. Thank you.
But I can see that in terms of region, I think you have from all parts of the region of the country, like if we call it east, west, south, and maybe the north is always it's a question mark. Anyway, yeah. Moving on now. What are the challenges that you have so far faced here, in terms of while creating it, the African Continental Unity Party, and how are you going to go forward? But before even that, I think what would be good is to know what are the things that you would like to set up or you would like to see to do for Africa? What are the goals? Let's say that the African Continental Unity Party has got that political win or political, that status in countries. And what are the things you would like to implement? What are the goals or the visions?
Is that for me or is for King Kabbalah?
Let's go to Kabbalah, and then because you spoke in the middle. Yeah.
All right, no, thank you so much, Queen. Let me start with your last question, your first question actually, even though you overlook at it, but I think it's important. I believe that the challenge that we are facing today as a people who are trying to organize the African masses is the same challenge that people like Kwame Nkrumah were facing, the same challenge like Marcus Garvey, Thomas Sankara were facing. And that challenge simply means that they were visionaries who had the vision of the world fixed at 100 years to come, but they were dealing with the people who were looking at today, people who were slaves of their stomach, people who were looking, who had the culture of entitlement, people who believe that for the fact that we are independent, our situation is totally changed. It means people don't believe in hard work to build something from scratch and be the masters of their own destiny and their own life. That is the challenge that we are facing today. It's the same thing that Nkrumah were facing. Because these people, when they look at the world, they don't see today. They don't see Trump. They don't see who's the next president that I'm going to vote for. They look at the 100 years to come. What is the society that we are supposed to build for our children? What type of society and what type of life do we want our children to live in that society? And that's what we are doing today. As I said some times ago, that we are heading toward the situation where the resources of the world are getting depleted, and therefore it will become a question of who got more power to secure more resources for himself. Already today, look at in America, Bill Gates by himself, he got more arable lands more than anybody else. This one single person. And it comes to Africa with vaccines. So already you have to think, what is the vision that these people have, right? So we have this kind of vision. And for you to build this type of vision, you need to sacrifice sometimes. You need to accept to work hard. You need to be disciplined. But the African people that we have, they're the people who are miseducated by colonial education. They don't believe in hard work. They don't believe in discipline. And on top of that, TikTok brings them nyash and all these things of distractions. You can see that we are in trouble. So we have hard work to do. So this aside, what are the things that we want to do if we are in power today as ACUP? So economically, what we want to do, we are bringing the economic system that we have designed that is called the Katikati economy. So the Katikati economy, it simply means, Katikati is a Swahili word that means in the middle. So it simply means an economy that is balanced. That means the exploitation of the resources must conform with the availability of the resources and the number of the people that we have in the society. We are having a society that is governed by capitalistic value systems that does not care about what are the environmental effects of heavy exploitation of the resources, and most importantly, a system that does not care about the future generation in terms of what are they going to rely on in order to develop their own economy. So it's an economy that does not care about the limited amount of the resources that we have. You see, in nature, everything is limited. The amount of calories that you need every day to survive is limited. The amount of water that you need to drink is limited. Everything that you need in life is limited. But why do we, even the resources that we depend on to build our economy are limited? So how do we have a system that allows people to have unlimited accumulation to wealth? You see, these crooks or these these thieves, because they don't even produce that economy, they steal it from the masses. They came all the way from being millionaires, and today they are billionaires. And you know what they're trying to do? They want to become a trillionaires. Actually, I saw an article recently that was predicting that Elon Musk will reach trillion of US dollars by 2030 or something like that. So what the hell is this kind of economy doing to us? Trillion US dollars for himself. How many people are poor in this world? They don't even know where comes the next meal tomorrow morning. And you have an economy that allows one individual to have trillion. You know how much money is trillion? You know, let's say, for example, a billion. You know, a billion of US dollars. If you want to count one by one after every second, you want to spend 34 years for you to count 1 billion US dollars. Like you want to count $1, $2, $3. You have to spend 34 years for you to count 1 billion US dollars. But you want to allow an individual to make trillion by himself. So what about us? Because that trillion, you know where it comes from? It comes from exploitation of the resources. So, and they're becoming so powerful that they are now buying oceans. They can buy oceans for themselves. They can buy enormous amount of lands for themselves, so that for us to have our shipment coming from, I don't know, from China or exporting our goods, we need to pay them because we have to transit on the ocean. So it's more of privatization of all of the entire planet by few individuals. So we have an economy that says that, for example, if the economy of Ethiopia depends on, let's say, for example, Ethiopia, the economy of Ethiopia depends on gold, or depends on, I don't know, on agriculture, whatever. We calculate the monetary value of that resources that you have, and we estimate the number of the people that you have in that particular country. And we say in this country, people are only allowed to have about 30 billion US dollars as a top cap of the wealth. So if you get to have, like, for example, 30 billion for, you know, as individual wealth, you cannot go rich or richer more than that. The excess that you make will have to be diverted to other people, to the society, so that we can eventually create a balance, you know, in the society for those who don't have to have a chance to have access to the same resources of the land. So that is in nutshell. But we invite people to go to the ideology, to read, and to get more sense of what we're talking about here. But this is one of the things that we want to implement economically. Politically, I've already mentioned about the inclusive democracy that allows every individual, like where you are in Ethiopia, if the government wants to implement any policy that will affect your life, the life of your children, the government must come to you, not even to the people, the parliamentarians that you are electing. No, the parliamentarian must study the applicability of that policy. They must study all the aspects of that policy. But for that policy to pass, they must come to the people who are at the core of a democratic system. And the people must be able to understand how that policy will affect them, and people must elect if it's supposed to pass or if it's not supposed to pass. That is the true democracy, right? That is the right of the people, by the people, and for the people, or the rule of the people, by the people, and for the people. So already those are the two major changes that we want to bring in terms of economic life and political life, because two are the right leg and left leg of every nation that must be functioning for the nation to move forward. And apart from that, we want to engage our communities, because one of the diseases that we are suffering from in Africa is a disease that I call messianic disease, to believe that everything must be done by the government, or everything must be done by some special skilled leaders. People remove themselves from their responsibility of transforming their communities. So we want to make sure that for every church that exists in Africa, for every mosque that exists in Africa, there must be a land, an agricultural project somewhere there that they do to create the food that we want, because those churches and the mosques are in our communities to extract money out of our people. And yet they don't even care about where that money is supposed to come from, right? When you go to Congo, you fly over Congo, you see that the whole land of Congo is not used, but yet you have church in every corner of of the street in Congo. So those churches must be allocated. There must be lands allocated to every church, every mosque, every enterprise, so that we can produce industrially. Even though we don't have industries as yet, but we'll be able to produce at the maximum capacity the foods that we want in Africa, because that's very important. Hungry stomach cannot think. Hungry stomach is exposed to corruption. So we need to produce for ourselves what we need first. Instead
But
of
on the
waiting for
other hand, you can say also a hungry man is an angry man, like Bob Marley says, no?
Definitely. I think you're right. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Queen. But those are the things that we want to do.
No, but a good one. Before moving to Kwame, you know, I have been listening to you now, okay, for the past 1 hour and 20 minutes. And the questions that comes again and again to my mind is, where are you in terms of education? What are you planning to do? Because Kwame might know this from me when we do this outdoor program at Connect Africa. I always try to in-depth. It's almost ritual for me, or a cliche, to say that we really have to find a way to educate our youth, the young people, like, because we don't learn about anything about Africa. All we are, what we do is, when one government comes, changes the whole curriculum of what it was, and start to demonize what the previous one has done. And I think not far enough from now, I don't think the Ethiopian youth or children will know about King Emperor Haile Selassie. I don't think so, because it's not given in the it's not included in the education. So the same is true, I'm sure, about other Pan-African leaders in the continent and in other countries. So there must be some kind of way that we can teach the children. And then, you know, in the next 2 decades or 3 decades, none of us has to do any hard work to bring this information to the people, because they will be empowered by that. So what are you planning to do in terms of education? And first of all, do you agree with me? Having said that, I would like to add one of, I think it goes with what I say, our audience here, what he said, he or she, I don't know, by the name, the last emperor, said implement STEM, as it like an acronym, STEM, at STEM academies with free education to young Africans. I think the person is talking about programming, electronics, engineering, mining, sponsor scholarship with conditions, so we can start building our own defense technology. The person is coming from that angle, but mine is in terms of teaching about Pan-Africanism and all this information. Let me just leave it there. So yeah, Kwame, would you like to take it from here?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Mahlet. Yeah, so the education, of course, is absolutely critical, and what you said is very important. Even when you look at the Chinese, when they took over their country in starting around 1949, actually one of the first things which they did, President Mao Zedong of China, he did is that he banned publications in English in the country. So the people had to go back to to Chinese. So while at this particular moment we have an institution right now where we invite people to listen to, and we train leaders there, which is called the Pan-African, the Pre-Minded Pan-African Academy. We train people there, and of course we talk about Africa and what is happening in the world, where we need to go. We talk about different topics, but that we understand also that it can only go so far. Of course, if I have children and you have children and another one has children, we need to do our part in that struggle, in that space, so that we can raise them, in a very good space. But to institute this on a mega on, on a large scale as a continent, that is where it takes us back to what King Kabbalah said, the question of power. Because when we go back to what China did, is that for them to uproot the foreign indoctrination that was in China, they had to roll out a program, a full program to train the Chinese people. When you go to the United States, they educate them that Columbus was a hero, and this guy came to the United States, and this is in the curriculum. So somebody sets a curriculum. So we have to get the power to set a curriculum. When you go to Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, you have seen that these people have started touching the neocolonial system to the core when it comes, for example, to news, because these people, they are indoctrinating our people with their news, and all the other things. So they have started touching even the core, the education systems. These people have, in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they have started dismantling the system to this extent. So you can see that the individual can only do so much in a system when there is a system which precedes him, which if he's is under a system, is a big system. You can only do so much as individuals. We can only do so much to cause any effect on that system. But if you have the political power, you have created your own power base, and you have your own power, you are in power. And that is why the SUP emphasizes this. And of course, as it said, King Kabbalah, Nkrumah said it, power, political power is the balancing, is the whole, is everything. Seek ye first the political kingdom, and all the other things shall be added unto you. Because everything is controlled by power. Everything, the laws are made by power. The price of the goods which you buy at your shop, these are all set by power, which means the politics and the parliaments and the presidents, the particular governments. So the education is a very serious issue that is going to be tackled with instituting a curriculum that is going to be pro-African and educates when it comes to science and technology. We have to understand that science and technology is critical to our transformation as a society. If you look at what is happening on the global stage today, China and the United States are battling each other. Why? It is because of science and technology. They are battling for the control of artificial intelligence, the control of the chips industry. All this is science and technology. They are battling for the production, for the putting output of scientists, in their various countries, STEM subjects. So this is supposed to be at the core of the new Africa that we are envisioning, and is exactly at the core of the education system that we are envisioning. The teaching of children, about our heroes, this has to be a must. It has to be in our curriculum. And so, because these are the ideas upon which, for us, we are envisioning building the continent. We are not envisioning an Africa built on the ideas of Barack Obama or the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. That is not the Africa for us we are envisioning. We are envisioning an Africa that is built on the ideas of people like Nkrumah, Sobukwe, Robert Sobukwe, Patrice Lumumba, Sankara, Thomas Sankara, all these people, the Haile Selassie's, the Abdul Gamal Nasser of Egypt. So these are the ideas, the Marcus Garveys, the Winnie Mandela. These are the people we think that.
But to be clear, sorry to cut you, Kwame. I'm not talking about only about teaching them about these Pan-African leaders, but also what we talk about here about like thinking the African way, to change that mentality instead of bombarding them with all these educations, the curriculums that are copy pasted from outside. And which are not really Pan-African, to raise children who can think, something that can benefit Africa, thinking the African way. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. When you go back, there's a book which was written on Nkrumah, which is called the Political and Social Thought of Kwame Nkrumah. It was written in 2011. So he saw that the education system in Ghana was colonial, and he struggled to decolonize the main university in the country, which is called the University of Ghana. So he went in there, and he faced a lot of resistance actually from the intellectuals there. and they were telling him that he's interfering with the freedom of educational institutions. They are supposed to have their own, freedom. So this shows you that, of course, education is extremely important. And it is a task that has to be tackled. Currently, we are inviting people from different walks of life, whether it is engineers, whether people who are invested or who are interested in the different aspects of building. And so some of these policies, actually, we require people to come on board so that we can build them together. So if you're talking about like a policy on how we should handle the children right now, and even the youth, which King Kabbalah spoke about, that they are already on TikTok, they are looking for twerking and what, and all these things which they are wasting their time in European football. Now, how do we take them there? How do we take them from there and bring them to the Pan-African thinking, and the thinking that we are supposed to participate in the building of a new Africa together? You are supposed to be thinking about the future of your continent. Together we should be working together. 17 years or 16 years, 14 years. How do we get them there? Now, this is where we are saying as the SCUP that we need hands on, everyone. We are inviting all people with different convictions. If you are convinced about science and technology, please come and let us sit together and let's see how we can do this. If you're convinced about children, come and help us. Because the thing is that for us, we don't assume to know everything. We don't pretend to know everything. The SUP does not pretend to know everything. And that is why we are open to people outside there. Come in and join and be part of that building. Be part of the construction of the Africa that we want to see, the one we need, actually. Many people say the Africa we want, but me, I think that it is the Africa we need. Okay, we need it. We need it. We don't just want it. It's the Africa we need. So come and be part of that Africa we need. Come and be part of the building of the Africa that we need for us, to secure our future. And of course, education is central, is critical, to that process. So this is something that is very serious, that is in our mind.
I think I'm trying to go through the comments here. So somebody said, this sounds like the philosophy that WEF promotes. Perhaps he or she might have wanted to say EFF. I don't know. But do you think your philosophy, the African Continental Unity Party, the ideology is more of like that?
Yeah, I think that EFF is a progressive force. If you look at what is happening in South Africa, they may have some challenges, of course, because it was formed by people with different thoughts. But at least, you can say that we have a lot of similarity, because they are Pan-Africanist, and we are also Pan-Africanist. So you can say that we are different, but we are different in one way or another. Like, for example, the supporting of certain things which they support, which we don't agree with as the SCUP. But you can say that to a larger extent, we are similar with the EFF. And so that is why we said that when we go to a territory, when we operate in a territory, we analyze that particular territory, and we understand the forces at play in that particular territory, and know how to cooperate with those particular forces that are in that particular area. If there is progressive forces, then that means there's going to be cooperation. If there's completely hostile forces, then that means that it's going to be all out confrontation with these forces. So and that is what I think makes the SUP very unique. We have invited a lot of people within the party itself, within our movement, and we are already working with different people, professions, even elders. We have groups of elders who have joined, and they are continuously joining. Groups of people. There's a different group which recently came into the SUP and decided to say they want to dissolve their group and join the SUP. So we are finalizing actually that particular agreement. So we are constantly analyzing, we are constantly adjusting, we are constantly looking at the situation and adopting to those particular situations. And I think that is what makes the SUP very unique. And and a party and an organization and a movement that people should join, all across the continent.
I know there are a lot of things to be asked, but because this one is also important, what kind of support you are looking for right now from people all walks of life?
So
maybe now we should start with the sister and go to
okay.
Kabbalah. Sister,
Okay. All right.
maybe you'd like to address this.
Okay, thank you once again. And if I'm right, the question is what kind of support we need right now.
Yeah.
So the most important support or the biggest support we need right now is everyone coming on board, because we have to put our efforts, our thoughts, and all that into action. That is the most, for me, what I think is everybody should come on board. That is the most greatest support we need right now. And when it comes to finance too, because now we are working for Ghana, for instance. Now we are actually, in the next 4 years, we are going for politics, that we are going to be part of the political parties to be voted for. So we are working, we go for walk and talk, we go to marketplaces, stations to actually create and tell people about ACUP, create the awareness of freedom fighting, tell people about what we have to come together to achieve. So in doing all of this, we need money. We need money for everything. Now money is the central base for everything, for our t-shirts, for our transportation, helping people from afar to come and join, for the message to be reached out to all of the people. We need money. So even when you register to be part of Acup, you have to maybe donate something small for the party to also improve. Because even when you go to EC for your documents to be legalized and all that, you have to pay an amount of money. We have to build offices for people to know that it is a legalized something that we are doing. So we need money in this daily thing that we are doing as an Acup team. So the other thing is we need people to also contribute, because we know that a lot of people may be interested. Maybe they cannot come out to actually walk on the streets, to preach to people, to talk to people, to share flyers to people, but their money can support. So we need everybody on board. So if people come on board and they get the concept, they understand, and they feel like they can help, or they can contribute, they can donate something, that is fair enough, because at last we will all achieve something, and it won't be for one person that will say it is this person who went to the station to talk to these people, so it is for him or her. But then it is for all of us, because somebody brought his resources, somebody also brought his energy, and we've all achieved something. So I think we need everyone on board. And secondly, we need our donations and our contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Gifty. Well, I think I'm happy to inform you that here, for example, in the comment section, in the chat section, that people have asked how to buy the T-shirt. I think it was Sister Sinovia. And then one person asked, how are you funded? Is there any site that or link you have to get, to give you donation? So if there are those things, perhaps you need to put it here in the chat section. I don't know if you have access to it, but if not, you can send it in the private chat and I can put it. Brother Kabbalah, so what kind of support you are looking for? I mean, yes, Sister Gifty said her part, but then maybe you can combine it with what are we have touched upon the challenges, but if a person joins, then what are the opportunities as an African person? If an African person joins, what are the opportunities for him or for her, that he or she would get by becoming part of this movement?
Thank you very much, Queen. Well, I think the support that we need right now, as Queen has said beautifully, it's money. We are living in the economy that is functioning on the how can I put it, commodification, or I should say, it's commoditized everything. In a sense that anything that you need, you will have to spend money on it. So the basic thing that I can say is that there are a lot of Africans who have money out there. Just give us 10 million US dollars and we promise you to liberate Africa within 10 years. Simple as that. Money, that's what we need. So in terms of when somebody joins us, what do they get? Look, the first thing that every African at this moment needs more than anything is to find yourself in an organization. Organization is the key word. As Kwame Ture said, it's you organize a little, you get little things done. You organize sometimes, you get sometimes things done, but you organize every time, you get always and at every time things done for you. So you join the ACP, you find yourself among a huge family, a continental family, which is the organization of ACP, where you feel empowered, you feel strengthened, and you feel also encouraged to realize that we are supposed to fight for Africa because it's our inheritance from our ancestors. You see, last year we went to the French embassy, and I'm telling you, I was among a group of Africans who went to the French embassy, and I was addressing this French authority with so much power and was able to listen to me. You know why? Because behind me there were people. I felt so much powerful because I was part of the organization. Otherwise, that French guy would never even pay attention to me on the streets, one on one. He would never even gonna stop his car on me. He had his bodyguards. I mean nothing for him when I'm on street, but for the fact that we were an organization and we went there, we had the power to bring him out and to give him our message, and he had to keep quiet and to listen to us. So that is the first thing that you are gaining by being part of this movement, is the fact that you are getting support from your fellow Africans, and you realize that the struggle that you are going through is not an individual struggle, is a community struggle as African people. And for the fact that you realize that it's a collective struggle, you begin to getting ideas on how to deal with your individual problems as much as of dealing with our collective problems. So that's one thing. The other thing is education, because ACP offers free education through the Free-Minded Pan-African Academy, as King Gonza mentioned. So you join the ACP, you have access to the education, Pan-African education, things that you didn't know, things that you didn't even realize. You get to connect with the critical minds that really gonna, challenge you in terms of what you believe and what you know. And education is not just political; it's also business education, because we train leaders in politics and in business. It's also going to be beneficial for you to know how to become an entrepreneur, how to invest, and how to create some conditions that you want. And also, as we are growing forward, we are moving forward. As I said, you give us 10 million US dollars, we'll be able to liberate Africa within 10 years. It means that liberation means we will be implementing some economic strategies in our communities. Everywhere we go, we will firstly, we need to solve the problems of our people, provide the foods, the economic means that the people need. So we can also do that through you, because we may just find out that you are the key person in your community that belongs to the ACP. Therefore, the plans that we have or that we might have for your community, will have to develop them with you and then implement them through you. So there are a lot of things that you can benefit by being part of this organization. But the bottom line is that you need to be part of an organization. Organization, and organization. That is the only salvation of African people and African community. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kabbalah. Kwame? Yeah, you can go on, you can address, respond to the same question. I think the support is basically said that if anything would like to add what kind of support, and then also, yeah, the opportunities if you want to add something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the support has already said, but has already been said by my sister, Queen Gifty. She has really elaborated it very well. But let me just also, add a little bit, re-emphasize it, that we need people. Key, of all things that we need is people. We need thinkers. We need people to work. We currently have about 4 departments. We have the Department of Communication, which is led by King Kabbalah here. And, the Ghana team of the communication is led by Queen Gifty. She's the one who's leading the communication department in Ghana. But King Kabbalah is leading our communication department on a global level, on a global scale. We have finance, mobilization. That is key. Also, we need people there. So we need people in the communication to be there. We need people in finance. And we have research and policy. We have a department of research and policy currently. And also we have a department of mass mobilization. Mass mobilization basically is to bring in more people. So you can see that this is a huge work. It's an enormous work. It's an enormous amount
Yeah.
of work. And it cannot be left to a few people. This is what we say, that people have to help. We can't leave a few people, to carry the burden, to always be concerned. And this is what, we are constantly saying, that we don't want so much to have one person. And that is why people like Nkrumah were defeated, during that period. Okay, he was not entirely, we cannot say he was entirely defeated, but he met the challenges he faced, that he was removed from power before he accomplished what he wanted, that he was carrying so much almost alone, while the other people, possibly some of them were selfish, others did not understand even what was supposed to be done, and others were outright neglecting the work. Even though they knew what is supposed to be done, they were neglecting what is supposed to be done. So this is key for us, that we need people to come on board and, like, stop being passive. People should not be passive about what is happening, because the future of the African race, both on the continent and in the diaspora, is facing an existential threat. We are facing an existential threat, that these people, they want the resources which we have. And if it means eliminating us, exterminating us, it will happen. But that can only happen because the owners of the continent, who are Africans of the continent and those in the diaspora, have not paid attention. They have refused to do what they're supposed to do. The Chinese fought their share, and they liberated themselves. So we are also supposed to come together. And if there's a force that is mobilizing you and is telling you come on board so that we can work together, I mean, you have to answer this call. So this is key for us, that people should come on board, because this burden cannot be lifted by only one person. We are more than 1.7 billion people across the world, as blacks, as Africans. If you add those on the continent and those in the diaspora, more than 1.7, I think we could be even 2 billion people. So this burden, you can't just put it on a few people that they should carry. They should carry the burden of 2 billion people to fight against all these international forces that are stacked up against us. So that is why we say that if you are out there, make a contribution. If you cannot make a contribution by being part of us directly, then deposit some money, make a contribution, go to our website. There's a donation button, there's a donation link, on our website, on the SCUP platform. Go out there, go to www.africanscup.org. Go to www. I think, Mahlet, you can put it down so that people can see. Go to www.africanscup.org, and you will see, you explore there. You can register. but there is also a donation button, and you can donate any amount. There's different ways of donating, or even you can write to Connect Africa. I think, Mahlet, you always have an email, in the description. You can write to Connect Africa and ask for the payment means for the SUP. If you want to pay for you want various means of payment, PayPal account, you want to use mobile money, you want to use bank transfer, all these you can contribute in all the ways. Again, if you cannot be there in person, if you cannot be with the SUP in person and contribute in person, you can contribute monetarily by sending the help. We have a secretariat in Accra, so that we can support the people who are working full time on this work, because these people cannot be supported in any way if people are not donating money, because many of us are working, but at the same time we are carrying out revolutionary work. So this means that as the SUP, we need people to support the full-time work. We need people on the ground, but we need to support the full-time work by people donating, so that the work can be going on. The imperialist forces, I remember that Bob Marley, they asked him when he was sick, that why is he working when he was sick, why was he singing? He said that the forces, the forces that are fighting against us, the enemy, the forces of evil, are working 24/7. Why should I rest? You see, so this is the challenge that we have, that the SUP needs to operate 24/7, because the forces of evil, those ones who want to keep the Africans down, they are operating 24/7. They are not resting. So we need this kind of help to come in, so that we can support the people on the ground. If you can donate $100,000, if you can donate even $10 million, like what King Kabbalah said, you will see the work going on, and we can give you the accountability of what we have done, on the ground. So we should not take this, this work that we are doing lightly. This is a very, serious work, and it's a continuation of the work that was started by our ancestors, the Marcus Garvey, the Honorable, Malcolm X, and the Kwame Nkrumah, the Kwame Ture, the Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King struggle that we are engaged in, and we cannot postpone it again. We cannot postpone this work anymore. We have to do it in this generation. Mahlet, you asked the second question, apart from how people should contribute.
Yeah, but let me just stay on that one, because I just shared the website and I'm trying to make sure that there is no problem when people try to donate. So I was trying to demonstrate there. So people put their name here, and then the next one is the email, and then you put a value. There is an option of 10, 50, and $200. So I'm sure this is easy, yeah. And like people from outside of Ghana or outside of Africa, for that matter, will not be faced by any problem. I mean, it's all
Absolutely.
easy to do. It's a smooth thing, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
If anyone has a
People
challenge
say,
in
oh, we
donating, they
tried
can
it
just,
and we couldn't.
yes. So if anyone has a challenge, they can just send us a message. The number is there. You can see the number. You can just send a message to that number, or you can even call, and then you will be helped, with how to do it.
So I'm trying to do this. Like, for example, okay, I chose an amount, donate now. So it
Yeah.
takes
So if you
me
go,
pay with
yes, so you can decide to
effort.
use PayPal if you want to use PayPal. You can decide
Okay.
to use bank transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the option of Paystack. So if you
Mm-hmm.
look at Paystack, if you select Paystack, for example, select Paystack. That's why it takes you to see. You will go and get select that one and go to next. This will take you to where you can choose. For example, you have a debit card. If you want to use mobile money, you can use there. You can go
Mm-hmm.
to card. Go to card. I think that most of the people have a card outside there. So you can use a card here. You can
What is
insert
card?
your,
Like credit card? Is that
yeah,
what
like
it is?
credit card and
Mm-hmm.
debit card, Visa card, Mastercard, all these. You select your options, your card options. You don't have to put them here, Mallet, because you don't want people to see your details. So people can put in and then just choose the amount you want to pay and donate to the SUP. So it is as simple as that.
Oh, what did I do? Did I go to? This is not the website, right? It took me somewhere. Anyway, it should be the website, and I don't know what I pressed, but it seems easy. There is PayPal also. So Okay, where is our sister? Here. Okay. So what I can do is I do my part. And there was someone I should have said thank you. James Starks is his name, who donated a super chat or super sticker. What is it called? Super sticker. Okay, that's $10. Usually YouTube add it on the monetization part, but I will donate that part through PayPal, and then also I will do my part. The other thing. But no, before that, this is like concluding. Before that, you wanted to talk on the this is how to donate, and then there was something I cut you right when I shared
Yes,
the
there was a second question. You asked a second question, which you wanted me to
which was
elaborate on
the
it.
opportunity. What do people get?
Yes. So yeah.
Because
So you
all
what number
said
one?
come on board. So
Yes.
what do we get?
So number one, you have an opportunity, to serve your people. That is number one, because there's no greater, mission that you are put here to do on earth, to accomplish, than to serve. Okay, to contribute, make a contribution. We do everything which we do in this world. We raise kids, we make money, we go to school, but when we die, at the end of the day, we don't go with anything. We can make money and leave behind billions and all this, and even children, but at the end of the day, what did you contribute to society? We hear here, even people like Tupac, who died, and at 25 he never produced the children. uh, he had some money, of course. Even right now, I think his estate is worth more than $30 million. Somebody who died way back in 1997. But the work which he did is what is most of the times put forward, that has kept his name alive. The work, because he loved the people, he loved the black people, and yet this was a very young person. So when you join the SUP, you have an opportunity to create a legacy. You have an opportunity to be part of history. We mentioned here that the changes that are happening in the world today, they have never happened before. So we have an opportunity in this generation to make history. So these are the things which you can share in. So you have an opportunity to implement even your own ideas. Come with your own ideas. You heard the Queen Gift here saying that when you come, even your own ideas, come and even champion your own ideas. Okay, come and contribute, come and lead, come and take on the position of leadership in the SCUP. You are open. Like, for example, on the global level, at the global level, we have a leadership structure, and we have leadership which rotates around. Everyone gets a chance to be like a president. Everyone gets a chance to be the chair. So it's not one person. And that is the beauty of it for us, as the SCUP, that we are not building it on a single person. We are building a system that is going to last for a very long time, so that it is governed by all people. All people, everyone has a chance. So this is the opportunity that you get a chance to pioneer, to contribute your own ideas, and pioneer those ideas and lead those ideas and see them come to fruition. But more so, you have a chance to become your own Nkrumah. You have a chance to become your own Malcolm X. You have a chance. There's no other platform than this, that you have. That when you go, your name will be remembered. Because what else do we leave behind if your name cannot be remembered? That is the greatest you can leave behind. Service to your people. So that's so much that we can do together, and to serve our people, and to leave a better continent behind. And of course, you have a chance to leave behind a better continent for the next generation, for your children and my children. So there's so much that we can achieve and do together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kwame, for that. Let me just, I know what I did now. Okay, I can, this is a website, right? So yeah, one person, Keep It Fit has is was said, for example, he or she asked the last emperor is the name of here in the chat section, would you be willing to help us with the education on STEM? Because that person was the one who was talking about STEM in the chat section. Yeah, the other thing, I think what you can beyond, Sister Gifty said, bring yourself, be on board. And then the second way of supporting is through finance. So when you bring yourself, you also bring with yourself your talent. So that could be one way, for example, to help or to support this movement. That being said, I think all of you have responded or addressed the question of how you can get support and what are the opportunities people can get by being part of this movement. That has been addressed, and I'd like to say that on my part, or on behalf of Connect Africa, which Kwame himself is a part of it, but I would like to dedicate an airtime if you want to. It's not that big platform, first of all, but if you find it a good way to connect with people, then it's good that maybe once in a week on a regular basis you can come and promote and talk about, so that people at least who are family here in this platform can also get connected directly with you, so that we can do the airtime. So
Yeah, so let me say something there. So Mahlet, what we will do is that whenever we carry out an activity, we'll be sending you the news, and we'll send you even the videos of what we are doing in the communities when we go to markets and we are preaching the gospel of African unity and African liberation and reconstruction. We will be able to send you those videos also, so that you can, people can get a chance to see what we are doing, in the field. And maybe this will even energize more people to come on board and contribute financially, and of course, with their talents also.
yeah, thank you. So very good. No, that will be great. People are asking how do we connect, so maybe we should leave here an email address of the SUP itself. Let me see if I can find it in the document. Is there an email address, or you tell me and I type it?
It should be unity at african-acup.org.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mahlet,
I see.
there's also a WhatsApp link. So I've sent it to you. People can join through WhatsApp. I've sent it to you. You can put it and they can scroll. Probably if you have a chance, you can put it on the scroller down or put it in a chat. I've sent it in a private chat. People can join our WhatsApp platform and they can ask questions from there.
Okay.
Our main WhatsApp platform.
Okay, I will share it. No, I don't think the email is correct. So unity at what you said, Brother Kabak?
african-acup.org.
Unity.
Unity at african-acup, all small, I think it's small letters, all small letters, african-acup.org. Org is ORG.
Yeah, okay, so here it is. So you can email them, dear families, Sister Sinovia, the Emperor, the last Emperor, all of you, Child of God, Alicia McQueen, who have been commenting and asking questions. Please contact the SUP directly with this email, visit their website and be part of it. I think it's great. As Kwame said, it's good to live, not as good, I mean, for our own consciousness. So to leave something behind, if we believe in it, if we do not have enough information, you can always ask them and read their website, read their ideology as well, and then donate something. I mean, $10 means nothing for those of us who are outside. So it's very easy way. The payment methods are really effective. I just tried it. There's PayPal and there's mobile transfer or paying through your card. it should be easy. State a policy and steps without saying anything. Oh, what? Anyway, so good. What was it? The WhatsApp link is copy link. Let me go. And then here is a WhatsApp group, I think. Yeah. So it's all here. I think that was it. It's 2 hours, so that people. It's long, but it is good. And next time, I think on the regular air time, it will not be long. But today is for the first time, so we have to ask all kinds of questions. And yeah, thank you very much, all of you, for being here. It was a pleasure and an honor for myself, and I will keep on learning as well. And I'm happy to support and also become part of it. I really, I like to be informed first. So this is the first step for me, and it will continue. Sinovia said she requested to join the WhatsApp group, so somebody has to let her. Okay. And yeah, Sister Sinovia is a great support system also here at Connect Africa. C and S, where have you been? You always listen from the background. Now you are here. So yeah, I'm sure you have listened to what our brothers and sisters said here, and show your support, please. I encourage you, and we do our part here as well. And yeah, unless there is anything else, that was it. Until next time.
Thank you so much. Peace and love. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.